watershed moment for the Irish language community, for our long-standing campaign for Irish language rights and for equality. For decades now, Irish language activists, families, communities have taken to the streets to engage and demand respect, dignity, equality, and I think the legislation that came forward a few years ago was a huge milestone in that campaign, and this is another significant step forward for us. An Irish Language Commissioner will be a huge addition to what we can expect from the state. The Commissioner will bring forward best practice standards for every public authority here, and that will lay out what best practice looks like in terms of policy, in terms of correspondence, in terms of identity, in terms of logos, signage and everything else. So this is going to have huge ramifications, very positive ramifications for society here, as we see the Irish language finally being taken in from the margins and hopefully being valued as an integral part of the state.
Watching this quite closely, what did you mean by that?
Well, I think this is going to be a very defining test for the Executive Office, for the First and Deputy First Minister acting jointly. That's the nuts and bolts of the legislation. But in particularly, this is going to be a defining test for the DUP. A lot of what the Commissioner will do will require consent from the First and Deputy First Minister acting jointly. We've seen over recent months and years the DUP attacking the Irish language, lashing out at the Irish language, taking very regressive and oppressive decisions to marginalise our communities. Now, we treat today as a very positive step forward. There's agreement to appoint an Irish Language Commissioner, but the effectiveness of that office will be testament and be based on how the DUP and Sinn Féin in that office work together. And we would hope that the DUP, having signed off finally on the appointment of this Commissioner following the enactment of the legislation, that they will support the effective implementation of the role and remit of the Irish Language Commissioner going forward. So well over 100 public authorities will now be devising and developing an Irish language policy. They will have to be signed off by the First and Deputy First Minister, but the best practice element of that is for the Irish Language Commissioner to ascertain. And we've seen the incoming Irish Language Commissioner advise TransLink recently on Grand Central Station. We've seen him advise Belfast City Council in relation to their Irish language policy. So we're greatly encouraged that this Irish Language Commissioner, Dr. Pol Deeds, will be a great advocate for the Irish language going forward, and he will endorse best practice as defined by international treaty bodies.